Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to do something different. This isn't really a tutorial. This is just me using something new for the first time and you guys hanging out to watch. I talked about in our Facebook group, Tumbler Universe, the information will be down below, about using liquid diamonds. This is a casting resin from the Epoxy resin store online. So this is a 2-to-1 ratio epoxy. It is crystal clear casting resin, liquid diamonds as they call it, and yeah, we're gonna experiment. Let's see how this works. So I have a tumbler here that I sanded, and the surface is pretty good. I had a few imperfections, so I sanded them out, and now because I don't want to do an entire new coating, I'm gonna try liquid diamonds because it's very thin, so I can kind of just wipe it on and get the gloss back on the tumbler. So I'm going to measure this out. This is part B. I always do part A first, and let me show you real quick. You see how it's kind of a low viscosity. It's very thin. Some people say it's like water, but this is not like water. It's a little thicker than water. But we'll see what happens. Let's see. Alright, I am completely lost with, I don't know where my mixers are, so I'm going to use a paintbrush today. And you can see I've used this before for mixing. Let's see, this is the you want two, like I said, 2-to-1. So, and I only need a little bit for this. So I'm going to do a mold after this. So what I'll do is I'll mix 15 milliliters, and whatever's left over, I'll put in my coaster mold. Yeah, that should work. Alright, so we're going to do 10 milliliters of part A and 5 milliliters of part B. And this, I don't have, this table's not level, so I'm going to move over here. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of the shot for a moment to my level table. And right now I'm just pouring part A. Actually, you know, I kind of want you guys to see this. So this is just to show you how thin it is. If you can, hopefully you can see kind of okay. Alright, I just did it almost to 10 so I can put it on my level surface and make sure I get that number right. Wow. I'm better than I thought. That's actually at the 10 milliliter line. I'm going to show you here. This is how thin it is. Okay, that's part A. Now I'm going to do 5 milliliters of part B. And part B, as usual with most epoxies, is much thinner. So this is closer to water than part A, but it's not as thin as water. Now I'm going to go up to the 15 milliliter line. Now, since this is so thin, I'm going to be extra careful. And I'm making a mess. But I caught it. I caught the drip. Guys, that almost never happens. Just throwing that out there. When I drip, it's messy. Now I know I'm out of frame. I am at my desk, my computer desk, which is perfectly level, and I'm using that as my measuring surface. Now I'm going to show you one thing. I hope you can see it, but you see there's like some chalky dry stuff. That's just residue because I didn't clean the rim when I was trying to experiment and play with it the first time. So it's basically just dried hardener. So I'm just going to wipe this off, or as much as possible off. You can clean it with alcohol if you want. I don't care very much, but I definitely want to get it from out of the lip and the screw part of the lid. Alright, so I have my little combination here. I'm going to mix, 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 mix. One of the awesome things about the casting resin is that, or at least this casting resin, is that because it's so thin, you just let it sit. If you have any bubbles, you just let it sit and they all just come to the top because they can actually move. With the regular coating resin, we have more trouble with bubbles because it's a much higher viscosity, which means it's thicker. And having a thick resin makes it difficult for the bubbles to travel and move within it, and they don't always want to go to the top. This stuff, you don't have that problem. Like, I'm mixing pretty violently and there's very little bubbles. Here, I'll do a close-up for you. We see how this is just much thinner than our standard tumbler epoxies. And like I said, I'm mixing violently and the bubbles are very minimal. Of course, I find my normal mixer now. So I'm just gonna use my regular mixer to scrape the sides and the bottom. And I'm noticing that I don't have so I'm using this mixer, my normal mixer, to scrape the sides and the bottom, but I don't have to work very hard. With the thicker resins, you gotta work pretty hard to make sure you're scraping the gunk or the thicker part A off. But with this, it doesn't really stick to the sides because it's so thin. And now this is another mixer that I'm using, and I'm still not really getting any bubbles. Well, there are bubbles, but they're just disappearing as I mix. And I find I mix a little extra with this because it's so thin that you don't see the streaks that you see with the thicker epoxies. So you gotta work, or I'm a little more diligent when it comes to combining part A and part B, just to be on the safe side. Alright, now that we're all mixed up, it's application time. This is a new angle, but some different. Alright. Oh wow. This is super thin. This is actually pretty perfect for that final gloss coat that you need. Like, you know when you sand that tumbler and it's so perfect and you dread putting on that last coat because you're like, ugh, I'm gonna get fish eyes or whatever. This just kind of wipes on. It doesn't need to be thick at all. Like, the little bit that I put on, I'm just going to see how far I can spread that. And all I'm doing is wiping it down, dragging it. I'm not even pressing hard because it's just like slipping. I'm just bringing it all the way down. And I usually, whenever I need to do this final coat, I'll use regular epoxy, or I'll use my normal epoxy, but I have to really press it into the cup in order to keep it from dripping and not being too thick. But this is actually pretty awesome. And it's almost like it's not even thick enough to have any issues with bubbles on the tumbler. So I want to say, for this particular application, I won't even have to torch it. And one plus with liquid diamonds is that it cures in, it's a 24-hour cure, I believe, but I could be wrong. I'll have to double check that. I'll put that information and all the stats into the description box below. Make sure you check that out. I'll also have a link to the store where you can purchase this, the Amazon store, where I have tons and tons of supplies listed. Everything you see in my videos you can basically get off of Amazon. If they're not on Amazon, I will have the links or just tell you the stores and shops that you can get them from. I try to put as much information down there as I can so that you guys don't leave with questions and have to wait for me to get back to you. I do my best, but I'm not always able to answer all the questions right away, and I really want to make sure you guys don't have to wait because I'm a pretty impatient person. Well, except for when it comes to fishing. I love fishing, so I can wait when I'm fishing, but when it comes to craft stuff, I get too excited and I just want it all right now. So just that little bit coated this whole tumbler, and this is a 40 ounce, guys. This is an Ozark Trail 40 ounce, and I dipped my finger into the epoxy, what, 3 times maybe, and definitely did not use much, and it covered this entire thing. The whole thing is now glossy. And let me go to my level table. I'm going to take a picture of where the epoxy is sitting in my cup, in my measuring cup, just so that you guys can see how much I did not use. Alright, well, all looks well. So I guess I want to say that's it. I'm just making sure This is all sitting nicely. I actually really like this. I mean, the thinness of it, it's super self-leveling. Like, there's just no streaks remaining, and that is definitely a plus, especially when you're doing that last layer where you just need it to be glossy and you need everything to cooperate. And that's my situation right now. I need this to do exactly what I need it to do. Yeah, this looks good. I think we have a winner. I will definitely be using this again on a tumbler. I hope you guys try this and give it a shot. It is a plus in my opinion. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for watching. Hope you give it a try. If you do, check out Tumbler Universe and share your results. This is a group that is completely drama-free, and you can share your crafts, be inspired, and inspire others. So check in the description box below for information on how to join and where we are on Facebook. Have a great evening.
If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to click the bell button and subscribe.